Welcome back to the first team. Joe DeLeone, Ryan Roberts. The second round of the NFL draft has wrapped up, and we're giving a quick reaction to the picks. Some of the ones that we really liked, and then a couple of head scratchers at the end here. The second round started off in a very strange fashion, Ryan, where we saw a lot of teams trade up to take not necessarily guys that were reaches, but just guys that were maybe they could have waited for. I think that this was a circumstance of a lot of teams wanting to secure guys that they liked on day two and just didn't want to mess around with anything, especially with the lack of trades that happened yesterday. Of course, I'm bringing that up again. With the lack of trades yesterday, maybe there could have been an expectation for some of these teams to be afraid that other teams could jump to go get players that they wanted. And I'm referring to Roro happening with the Falcons. I'm referring to Braden Fisk going at 39 to the Rams. It just a lot of defensive tackles that I was not expecting, especially those that went before Jer'Jon Newton did.
Well, if you would have just listened to my evaluation of Ruka Aurora, that would not have been surprised at all, since I had an early second round grade on him. So, I mean, you could just.
I had a late second on him. I liked him too. I just thought that. Okay, wait.
Yes,
but
yes.
You had Jer'Jon Newton over Ruka Aurora. That's my point for pointing it out.
Yeah, but Ruka doesn't have some character issues, man. So this is how the draft works, brother. It's how it works. It's not just the field. It's just not about the field.
Okay.
Dude, we run defensive tackles early, though, did we not? So, yesterday, offensive heavy. Today, very defensive heavy. I mean, how many defensive tackles do we have? We had 4 in the first, 8 picks? 7 picks? Somewhere in that ballpark. Cooper DeJean comes off 4. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Kamari Lassiter. Like, it was a defensive heavy draft, especially early on. And, I mean, some offensive guys have trickled in with like Zach Frazier and Adonai and Ben Sinnott, but like for the most part, man, this has been a defensive second round, which I can dig after the offensive first round previously.
There's 2 picks that I think that I really like the most. Just a quick shout out for Keon Coleman with the Bills. I think that is going to end up being a really nice fit. He's going to get a lot of early targets. I love that Jalen Polk is going to be a part of a young, growing, developing offense. I think that ends up being a nice little spot for him. But the 2 that like really jump out at me is Jackson Powers Johnson at pick 44 going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then the other one is Michael Hall Jr. at pick 54 going to the Cleveland Browns. Jackson Powers Johnson's a much better value than Michael Hall, where they were picked comparatively. I slept 3 hours last night for anybody who can't tell. We power on, though, to Jackson Powers Johnson, who we have talked about as being one of the highest floor offensive linemen in this class. He's a very steady player. He's super physical. I love his upper body strength. This is really good for the Raiders to have him fall in their lap, and arguably could have been a guy that they could have considered in the first round where they were picking. They needed to really shore up their offensive line, and I think that this is a nice way to do it in the interior. He could play guard or he could play center.
Well, the interesting part, I don't know which broadcast you're watching, Joe, but on NFL Network he was. Well, actually, it's not a network centric thing. He was announced as a guard when they announced the pick. So
yes, that's why I bring that up.
Las Vegas Raiders, for people that don't know, I don't have the names in front of me, but they have a massive question mark both at right guard and right tackle. Like that going into the draft was huge. Their center's fine. Like their center, at least for the short term, is good. So Jackson Powers Johnson might be the starting right guard for the Las Vegas Raiders. I would say this about the Raiders. Although the Brock Bowers pick was still kind of weird at 13, they are a team that has gotten about as much tremendous value as you can in this draft so far, because I would say I would say this, right? Brock Bowers was my number 1 ranked player. I know he was your number 1 as well. So that's a plus 12 value on getting picked 13. And then also for me, I don't know where he was for you. Jackson Powers Johnson was my 21st ranked player. And then they got him. What spot did they get him at? They got him at
44. I think I said it was
44. Right. So, I mean, that's a plus 23 value for me. Right. So either way, 2 tremendous value picks out of the Raiders first rounds.
It's very funny though.
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, can we talk about Michael Hall Jr. though?
I forgot about Michael Hall. Yes. Yep.
To round out the Jackson Powers Johnson pick, though, it's very funny that both of their picks are guys at positions that they don't necessarily need, and they clearly said to themselves, "You know what? This guy is so high up on our board, and we don't want to miss out on these opportunities, so we're going to take him." So you take him, and then you figure out how you're going to build the roster and how you're going to utilize your offense when that comes together. I like Michael Hall Jr., as I mentioned, landing with the Browns. I believe that was their first selection in this draft, and they needed to get a wrecking ball interior defensive lineman to play off of Myles Garrett and the rest of that unit. I think that could end up being a really underrated pick that maybe doesn't pay dividends right away, but like in a few seasons, we're talking about how Michael Hall Jr. and Myles Garrett are one of the best defensive pairings in the NFL because they just are able to work off of one another. I really, really like that pick. I had him projected to go in this range, so it's not like a huge value pick. It's just such a nice fit.
Yeah, well, and he's obviously Columbus, Ohio, staying in the state of Ohio, going to Cleveland. I think it was Corey Kinnan that put it out because obviously he covers the Browns, Joe, but he had said that in Jim Schwartz's defense, it fits a lot, right? Because they obviously really value interior pass rushers more than even some at the highest level in the league do. So the great thing about Michael Hall is that Michael Hall's body's still developing. I don't know if he's going to be a great run down player immediately for the Cleveland Browns, but as he develops, he can give you pass rush upside. Like he can give you that interior rush that teams really value at this level and value at high volume. And I think that is a bolster on the next level because now he's going to get some one-on-ones. He is. It's usually the other way around that interior guys get double teamed and they leave an edge one-on-one. But you're going to slide everything for Myles Garrett. You're going to slide everything to him. And that means a guy like Michael Hall might get a one-on-one with a guard or a center. And he can obviously take advantage of those plays with the athleticism that he has.
All right. Who's your first guy that you wanted to bring up?
The Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Troy Fautanu, number 20, which I love.
I tweeted this.
What did they come back and do in the second round, Joe? At number 51, they take Zach Frazier out of West Virginia, who is a guy that I had as a top 25 player in this class, and I believe would have potentially been a borderline first-round pick if not for the injury that cost him a lot of the pre-draft process. Wasn't able to participate at the Senior Bowl, was very limited at the Combine, did some things at the Pro Day, but this dude, in my opinion, in Pittsburgh needed a center desperately. He is a day one starting center in the NFL. I would be shocked if week one he wasn't the starting center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have wanted the Steelers to upgrade the offensive line just in general the last couple years. Getting Fautanu and then coming back and getting back Frazier in the second round, that's nice, man. That's really nice. I think that brings a lot of upside long term. You got two of the more high floor offensive linemen in this class as well. I think that they are going to present immediate dividends for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024.
2 straight drafts that the Steelers have not only killed it so far in this one, but they've also took what was a massive issue for them, weakness for them at the start of going into the 2023 draft. They get Broderick Jones, who's coming together. And then now you're going to put Troy Fautanu into the mix, which I would assume he plays guard. And then now you also have Zach Frazier. You have potentially, those are all 3 guys that most in the draft industry have talked about as high upside players, great players that are going to provide really just strong, consistent impact. So this feels like the Steelers' offensive lines that we're used to seeing. So I really love this one. I'm glad that you brought this one up. Again, this is just like the first round where we're getting a lot of picks, it feels like, that are just make a lot of sense. This is a very weird draft in the sense where I feel like there's so few instances where I'm scratching my head. There's only been a couple of picks so far on day 2 that I'm really confused by some of the decision-making. Most of these are fantastic, and Frazier is one of those.
Another one that I loved was, speaking of guys that fell to the second round because of an injury and durability and not showcasing themselves as much as they could in the pre-draft process, Cooper DeJean ends up going number 40 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a top 25 player for me as well.
Eagles.
Oh, what did I say?
Steelers.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, Pennsylvania, right? I also tried to get Philadelphia out of my mind.
They'll get pissed if you say that.
I know. I'm just kidding. For people that don't know, I'm a South Jersey guy. I live right outside of Philly, and I hate the Eagles. Yeah, everyone knows that. Cooper DeJean goes to the Philadelphia Eagles after they also drafted Quinyon Mitchell with the 22nd overall pick. This, Joe, I love this potential fit because you know what I think is going to happen in 2024? This is my belief. James Bradbury was awful in 2023. I would actually be surprised at this point, almost shocked if he was on the roster this season, because I now have this vision. Darius Slay at one corner, Quinyon Mitchell at the other, and Cooper DeJean as the slot defender, where he played 2 years ago as the nickel. I can see it because you know what I envision is that you have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson coming back to this team, who also can play the slot. He's played a lot of nickel in his career. You could almost make it look like a 3 safety set where either Cooper could rotate down or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson could rotate down, and you can have so much coverage versatility in this system. A team that in the Vic Fangio system, I believe, is really going to value versatility on the inside of this defense. I think that Cooper DeJean gives you all of that. He would not be, I say this very firmly and with deep belief, he would not have been the 40th overall pick if he did not suffer that injury at the end of the season that cost him a lot of the draft process. I think he would have been a first-round pick. Getting him at 40 along with Quinyon Mitchell. The Eagles secondary last year stunk on ice. I believe they had the last ranked or last ranked pass defense in the NFL. Certainly taking big improvements this weekend.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. I really am a big fan of that one as well. And it all comes down to picks that I really like are really going to favor selections that are filling needs that were huge deficiencies. So we just talked about Zach Frazier a second ago. We talked about Michael Hall Jr. fitting those descriptions. We now have Cooper DeJean and Terrion Arnold playing for this Eagles secondary. Again, the
Quinyon Mitchell, not Terrion Arnold.
Quinyon Mitchell. Sorry, yes. Quinyon Mitchell. It is the consistent conversation that we always bring up during these drafts where the rich keep getting richer. A team that already has so many strengths is able to get a starting outside corner, able to get a guy that is not really just a slot corner, but a slot defender, as you described him, who's going to be a versatile weapon and also potentially a kick returner. Let's keep things positive for the last one I want to bring up. Pick that happened at the end of the second round.
If
Roger Rosengarten with the Ravens.
You stole him. You stole him.
Well, I was just trying to lead into it. I knew that you wanted to bring it up. Trust me, man. I'm the point guard here. I'm trying to get you the ball.
Like, John Stockton. Go ahead, John. Let's go.
The ball was inbounded me, and you just ran up and tried to take it out of my hands right now. I'm just giving you shit. Roger Rosengarten goes in line with what we talked about with Nate Wiggins. We have no affiliation with the city of Baltimore and with the Baltimore Ravens. We have no need or desire to glaze them any further. But them landing Roger Rosengarten in the end of the second round, a guy who is going to be a high floor starting right tackle for you when you just moved on from Morgan Moses, that was the biggest question mark. Also could have been a pick that they could have made at pick 31 that a good amount of people regarded it as such. I love this, man. This is an awesome draft for the Ravens, which I am stunned. They're having a good NFL draft. It's almost like they have a good, consistently good front office.
The Rosengarten fit's kind of interesting, though, isn't it? Because he doesn't really strike me as a Baltimore Raven offensive tackle.
No.
Right? Like a traditional one. But that being said, at pick 62, that's tremendous value. Like, he is a starting offensive tackle relatively early in his career if you need him to be. Tremendous athleticism, tremendous flexibility, needs to improve the power profile. But, man, if he does, I think that he has a tremendous upside as a football player. Can I give you one more? Give me one more.
Yes.
Green Bay Packers 58 taking Javon Bullard was one that I really liked a lot. That they would have considered a safety in the first rounds, Green Bay Packers, if there was a safety that was draftable in the first round. But there just wasn't this year. They did not have that caliber of football player, in my opinion. But Javon Bullard is exactly the type of player that they wanted Darnell Savage to be, but never truly was. Versatile, can rotate to the roof, can rotate down, can play the slot at times. They want that versatile piece on the back end that gives you a ability to rotate a lot more post-snap than what they've been able to do the last couple of years, because Darnell Savage just wasn't good enough of a pick and didn't develop the way they wanted to. So Javon Bullard, who played slot at Georgia, who played single high at times, who played two high at times, this kid is the perfect versatile weapon on the back end that allows a secondary to be a whole lot more diverse in today's game.
I give a lot of credit to the Packers and the aggressiveness that they've had this offseason. That is a good example. Falcons. Falcons, good example of a team who understood that their window to win is now, and they pushed all of their chips into the middle of the table. And on top of this, they're also throwing into the mix Edgerrin Cooper and Javon Bullard. They're getting athletes, man. They are accruing and building up a pool of some really, really good athletes on the defensive side of the football. I'm excited to see if that's going to lead to the success that we think could potentially happen for them. Some holes offensively that they'll need to address. We're going to talk about round 3 coming up soon on another episode. Go check that one out. It might already be out. If it's not out, then you can wait. You can wait. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back. Enjoy the rest of your night.